All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of me, myself, Sal. Today's session, I will be um, going way back and installing 2008 R2 server on a bare metal machine. So before I start, um, I've created a machine already, just a basic machine. Gave it about 8 gigs so that it speeds it up a little bit, and then I'll just move it down to eight. I mean to 4 or 6. I gave it two processors in my machine, two processors at one core, and I gave it one 150 gigs. I'm gonna add another disk because I'm also going to involve RAID configuration. And in this, I'm probably going to be doing a RAID 5 configuration or RAID 1 configuration um, in this machine. I did choose RAID 1 the last time, but I'm going to show you guys how to do RAID 5. And on my virtual machine, within my environment, and then I'm going to show you guys how it's done on a server level. Um, just to kind of give you guys an idea of that, and then describe what an array is, what a logical disk is, physical disk is, give you sort of an insight of how that works. And let's get to it. Um, this is very important, especially when we're talking about RAID configuration. So when I get to that point, I want you guys to kind of understand how that works. We'll also talk about RAID BBU. What is a BBU? Battery backup unit. We'll talk about hardware versus software RAID. We'll talk about configuring RAID 10 on a client machine as well too. Or if we have enough time, I'll just show you guys in another event. And so forth. There are prerequisites. I'll talk about that, and we'll talk about RAID 5, how to create RAID 5 within this machine. So let's go ahead and start with the diagram first. Let's go to the diagram first. Let's kind of describe what's going on. Within my local branch, I've created one machine. Um, on my laptop, I'm using Workstation Pro to create my machine. And within this bare metal machine, I'm going to add another disk and I'm going to add another network card. So I have two network cards for redundant purposes. And I'll explain what that does and why that's done. I'm also going to talk about what NIC teaming is. NIC teaming is also touch base with that as well too. So let's get to it. So any questions after or before the movie, please feel free to add me to the WhatsApp chat group. That WhatsApp chat group is in the description in the YouTube video. So I recommend you guys like that, subscribe, and if you guys have any questions or need help with the lab, please feel free to join that, and one of myself or somebody else might be able to help you. Okay. Okay. So within this virtual machine, all right, here's my Windows 12. Okay, I have a Windows 8 and Windows 12 machine here. It's just an 8 gig machine with two core processors, one core per processor. I've given it 150 gigs. I've given it a NAT adapter, and I'm going to add another NAT adapter, and I'm going to add another hard disk for you guys. And I will be loading the Windows 2008 software and showing you guys how to get to the BIOS. I think in the last information session, I gave you one way to do it where you double click, but there is an easier way, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a sec. Okay, so let's go ahead and add an extra disk. So right click on them, go to the Windows machine settings, click add, and we are going to add another disk. We're going to give it a SCSI disk or a SATA disk or NVM, whatever you want. It's recommended. Uh, in terms of how you want your setup to run. In this instance, I'm going to run a SCSI disk, or I can run a SATA, I can run an ID, whatever your heart's content. It's up to you. But I'm going to make it uniform. I'm going to stick to the um, SCSI disks. I'm going to click next. And this disk, I am going to create a new virtual disk. Use where the virtual disk is composed of one or more files on the host file system, which appears as a single hard disk to the operating system. Or I can use an existing virtual disk if I want to in my data store or my physical disk or my storage or my LUN, and then reuse that previously stored disk. I can then use a physical disk, but I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. This gives you the option to give the virtual machine direct access to my specific local disk. So my physical disk here, this gives access to the virtual machines within that. So if I want to, create the virtual disk in the future, I could. There are some applications within VMware where you can kind of clone your computer and turn your physical machine into um, a virtual machine, and there is software for that. I'm not going to talk about how to do that, but it is a possibility, and probably a future class if I get enough information, if I get enough people who wanting to know. So this is something that can be done. So the physical disk becomes your virtual environment, but it's not recommended. So I'm going to create a new virtual disk, and like I mentioned before, I wanna um, just split the virtual disk into multiple files. So I'm not using my physical hard drive disk, but I can give it as many gigabytes or terabytes as I want. It's basically the volume that's used uh, inside, or the data that's inside or downloaded or created inside, which will be taking up all the space. I showed you guys where the location is, and I'll show you this after this wizard. But by splitting these disks, makes it easier to move the virtual disk to another computer, but may produce performance with very large disks. So this is a recommendation. A lot of companies will use the stored virtual disk as a single disk file, but again, it's all up to you and what your bare metal server holds. If you have like 3 or 4 terabytes and you're throwing in 25 machines, I'm sure storing a virtual disk as a single file is a great option. So again, like I said, this is a small little disk. I'm just going to give it, let's say, 60 GB. I can give it as much as I want, but for now, just give it 60 GB. Just remember, my first hard disk uh, is my C drive, and will have my operating system, my server 2008 R2. So this will actually create using multiple disk files, and I'll show you where that's created. It gets created. I'll show you where that gets created in a second. So the disk files will automatically name based on the this file convention, and it will give it a 001, 002, and so forth, so forth. So once I'm done, again, I can specify this disk wherever I want it to be. So again, um, you know, wherever I want to save it. So in this case, I'm going to save it to my virtual machines drive within my R2, and um, want to keep it here because this is going to be my second disk that I'm adding. So I want to add it back here. So once that's there, again, I can change this based on the physical drives that I have in my machine, my bare metal machine. But because I'm creating everything from scratch, um, I want to place those files. Uh, so what I'm doing here, no, let me draw this out for you. So what I'm doing here is I'm saving it within my physical disk F. It's basically the files, the VMware files, are being saved in my physical disk. Um, Typically in a production environment, we want to save those in a LUN or shared disk, and I'll explain what a shared disk when we talk about SAN solutions. in a later video, but you want to um, so basically you wanna you can save these with these LUNs in the hypervisor. So basically they run across the two hypervisors, and then those are basically mapped from the SAN storage solution across the network, uh, and mapped to the LUNs that are um, physically there. So this is going to be a LUN, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what that is. And that right there, again, it's physical. Oh, I'll lock this here. That so I don't move it. And again, when I'm creating go back this one. Let's see if I can get a better line. Okay. Let's use this. Okay, there we go. So it's gonna run across one of those disks within here. I'll zoom in there so you have a better idea. So one of these physical disks. So one of the, let's say this disk right here, that disk right there, um, it'll map a network um, across that to the LUNs, and then that's what will hold the storage. So typically that's the kind of architecture we want. Um, but again, there's two options. Well, but for now we're basically saving that information. Um, you know, typically it should be in the LUN, right? Like that's that file, that WDK file, but we're actually saving it here within our physical disk. And I'll explain a little bit more. It'll make sense a little bit more when it comes down to talking about SAN and LUNs and whatnot and hypervisors. But just to kind of give you an idea, is I save the files here. Instead of saving it on my C drive, I'm saving it on my F drive, which is a secondary drive that I want, which holds more space, and it's separate from my operating system. So I'm not, I'm separating the space and the administration of both drives, right? I want to leave it simple as possible. I want to leave it as light as possible, and I don't want to install a lot of operating systems. I want to make sure those are managed through our software center or through Omnisa, AirWatch, whatever software you use to administer those applications, and that way it's managed properly in the image itself over the network on the within the domain. Okay. So again, I'm separating the administration. So I've created this virtual machine on my software right now, and I'm saving it on my physical disk, and then that'll run my that'll run my as an admin. I'm now running. I'm going to run this virtual machine on this disk. That's going to have the ISO image. It's going to hold that ISO image. And then this is the secondary disk that I've added. And then I'm also going to add another NIC card. So the difference between this NIC card and that NIC card is this one we call this one Ethernet 0. Okay, right? So that's basically called Ethernet 0, which transfers the data inbound and outbound. Sorry, transfers the inbound and outbound data. And then I'm going to add a second NIC, which is good practice. And this is going to be called ETH1, Ethernet 1. And I can use this in tandem together and create NIC teaming, right? So that's actually a good practice. That way, um, these two can be separated in terms of whatever I want to use it for. So if I want to use one for internet and I want to use one, for example, for RDP, which is a good idea. Sometimes RDP connections. That's one idea that I've seen being used. RDP connections. You have a separate Ethernet for that, and then you have your Ethernet one for internet. Again, it's totally up to you. You can have one as a heartbeat NIC, which is sends heartbeats per second, uh, you know, to the network, and sends we call it the Sergeant I'm alive packets. So I've also seen that in an infrastructure as well. But again, we're just going to keep this as simple as possible, just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm trying to do and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So again, I'm going to add the two Ethernet cards for redundancy. I'm also going to add the second NIC card, one for administration purposes, and one of them is going to be for a physical disk, and the other one's going to be for our, let's say, storage or application servers, okay? Or whatever we want it to be, separating them for that specific thing. Okay, so let me pull this here. Okay, so that's going to be Ethernet 0. So stop drawing. Okay, so so I don't lose my. All right, so that's going to be locked as well too. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so you guys have the idea here. Again, this is going to be your Ethernet 0. Uh, so again, and then we're also going to have a second NIC, and that's going to be Ethernet 1, right? And that's going to give us our internet, uh, which is going to hold our NAT. That's going to hold NAT. And then this is going to be, we're going to have it through a VM network. And again, I can give it whatever VM network I want. So in this instance, I'm probably going to stick to the one that we drew last time in our last video. I'll give it the same network card there, okay? All right. This is ETH1. And again, I'll show you guys how to do that. Again, this is going to be for NIC teaming. Uh, okay. NIC, team NIC, TNIC, I call it, so that we have an idea. And TNICs are typically, finish that here. Okay, so TNICs, let me close that again. So I've got the two disks right now. TNICs is right here. So if you go to the server manager itself, we have NIC teaming here. So this is where NIC teaming is, and it's disabled by default. So we're going to enable that after on our other machines. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our server. Let's add that secondary NIC card. I'm going to add that hardware, and then my NIC card, my network adapter. Click next. And I'm going to give this custom. Again, I can give it internet as well too on this one if I want to, just to keep it consistent, or host only. But I'll give it the same one that we had last time, I think, so that way they can communicate with each other. Let's see what I gave this one yesterday. Yesterday I gave this one VMware. Okay, so we're gonna keep this consistent. We don't. Again, it's just internet. It's not. We have no We didn't give it an IP yet. It's all assigned by DHCP right now. We didn't give it a standard IP, nor did we create domain name services. And in my 5.2 version, next week I'm going to show you guys how to do that. But for today, let's just build this 2008 machine and talk about RAID, because I also think that's important as well too. And then we'll go back to next week. I'll show you guys in video part 5.2 with the hypervisor. I'll show you guys how to do that as well. Okay. So right now I have a 2008 machine with um, edit. Let's add another drive. I guess I didn't save it though. Let's put that back quickly. Hard disk, SCSI, create a new virtual disk, split it, and I'll give it 60. Next. Doesn't matter what I give it. I can give it as much as I want. Finish. And then let's just give it another one for the time being. Let's give it another one here. Let's give it another disk. Give it 3 disks. SCSI. Next. Let's give this a 60 as well too. Let's give this 60 as well too. And then split that in multiple disks. Finish. And then I want to, okay, so that's added. That's all good. And then I'm able to expand this, increase only the size of the virtual disk, and I'm able to defragment it, compact it. I'm also now able to reserve where I want these disks and what I want to call them. Right, and the advanced settings. It's also something that we can take a look at after. And again, I will be enabling this and then mapping, let's say, let's map, my drive. So right now um, it's saved on my hard disk, like I showed you before. So this machine is saved on my physical disk. I can also save it on my virtual disk. Um, Again, that's an option uh, that can be done. Um, but for this one, I think I'm just going to keep the applications, and I want to save the applications on the server, and I'll call this my application server, app server, web server, app, web server, web server. We'll use this as a web server for now. Call it whatever we want, print server, web server. So this will be our web server that holds IIS and other applications. Okay, so I'm gonna click next. Okay, applications. Okay, and we'll call this web server apps. Okay, and click next, and then enable the share and click finish. So I'm always enabled it. I'm going to map it. And then I'll also talk about logging in. This, I'm not going to create it yet because I need to ensure that it's running, and I need to create the admin on this machine or have a user already created. So that's something we can do after. I showed you guys how to do that in a previous video. I probably won't show you how to do it today, but again, it is in my previous video, 5.1, how to create a virtual machine with Hyper-V. So make sure you watch that. Then hit OK. Load my ISO image, and then hit OK, and then run the machine. Now, I know in my last video, I showed you guys how to click into the screen and hit F2, but there is a better way that I want you guys to also learn how to use by going by power and turn on to firmware. So by doing that, we're going to be going into the BIOS. And this will automatically uh, go into the BIOS automatically. Right. So here's our BIOS. Just again, it's only by right clicking. In previous versions of Workstation Pro, it would say power on to BIOS, but they changed it, and again they call it now power on to firmware. There's not really much you can do here. Again, you can you can move around when you click within it. You can move around, change the system time and date, make sure that's all set. the primary master if you want to boot that. Everything's automatic. It's not like you can make changes. There's not much that I can do here, and you know, following that. Then there's also the um, you know, primary slave. We're not touching any of that features right now, right? And then turning on the num lock key, making sure that's on auto so that the num lock key, I can type numbers in if I want. I'll make sure that that's the only change that I want to make for now. And then we also have our boot time diagnostic screen. I'm also going to enable that. You know, that could be important. And then we have our extended memory. And then we have our multi-possible. Again, installed operating system, installed OS, other Windows 95. This is just to, you know, select the operating system installed on your system, which you will commonly use. You know, we can use Windows 95 or we can use, you know, other. So an incorrect setting can cause the operating system to display unexpected behavior. So, you know, make sure you know what you're doing when you make these changes. Okay, so we're gonna leave that as is. And then in advanced, we're gonna scroll for our mouse keys. So select our items and change our values. If you look down here at the bottom, small side here. Let's see if I can get my pen. Um, you get my pen. Okay. Annotate again. You know, I can make changes here if I want, but just remember, you know what you're doing before anything. Um, right? And you can read each section within here in this item specific help. So all this here will show you what that does and how that does it. Again, make sure you know what you're doing before you make those changes, okay? I'm not going to make any changes today, so I will continue on to the next step, okay? So the reset configuration data, cache memory determines how to configure this specific block memory. Again, you do that, you make these changes if you know what you're doing. If not, do not make those changes, okay? Because that might cause instability to the machine. Large disk access mode. This is Unix Novell NetWare operating systems. So if we select other, we can install those operating systems. So if we were to install new software and the drive fails, we can change the selection and try again. Different operating system require different representations for drive geometry. So large disk access mode, we can change that. I think if we press enter, we have two. We have other DOS. We're going to leave it as DOS for now. And then we also have our ID adapters, not important. Setting our passwords. Um, if you want to, you can set a password, BIOS password. I recommend that in a production environment. So I'm going to set a password and show you guys how to save that password. Just make sure you remember that password because that password is important. In a production environment, you want to store those passwords in a keychain or a vault or something and make it consistent, especially so that you or your department knows or the department that's working on it knows as well too, right? Um, we could set user passwords or we could set supervisor passwords. In this case, setting the supervisor password controls access to the setup utility. So I'm going to escape this because I'm not going to do it. But if you want to, you can. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's set a password here. Make this easy. Make this easy. Just don't forget what it's called. Um, right. And then confirm the password. Enter accepts it. You had enter, and that'll bring it to the next screen. So type in your password again to confirm it. And then hit enter accepts it. And then changes are saved. So we have a supervisor password that's enabled. We do want to enable it. So yes, for in this case, we are going to enable it because it is a server, right? So production environments, any physical machine that has, data and stuff on a server, you always want to enable that. And then here's your boot options. You can change your boot options. In this case, our hard drive is our CD-ROMs, and then we have our boot if we're running Pixie or run from Intel E1000 or boot from our two NIC cards that I've added. And then we want to load and save the changes. So we will hit F10 to save the changes. And then hit yes. And then run the machine. There we go. So our password's now enabled. I'm going to put in the password that I gave it. And then hit enter. So this will now load the files. Great security option, especially in data centers or server rooms where you want to add a password for the BIOS so that it locks the screen completely. Um, again, in a test environment, you don't need to, but again, in our environment today, in my environment, I want to test it. So great option. And then we're going to hit Control Alt to get out of the screen and then go back to our drawing. And then I'm going to stop drawing here. And I'm going to write that as files protected. Files protected. Ethernet 1. So this is our physical, sorry, our NIC card, our physical, our virtual NIC card that we're creating on our hypervisor, but we also have we're basically creating two physical, two Ethernets on the sorry, we're creating physical Ethernet 1 on the Baremetal machine. So and then physical Ethernet, sorry, physical Ethernet 0 and physical Ethernet 1. Those will be our two NIC cards here. So that right there, I'm just going to copy and paste that and just put that here. And then we have our physical network 0 on our Baremetal machine. And I'm going to select all this. So all this is actually on our machine. So here we will be creating, I'll show you guys how to create team NIC, right? NIC teaming. This will bring to the front. And then we'll select these two, unlock. Bring these to the front. Okay. Again, we can segregate these at any time. Right. So this is our physical Ethernet 1. This also has a NIC card, or network card, and to the outside world. So this here is what's giving us internet, and that's my physical NIC card. And then we also have our physical Baremetal machine that also has a NIC card, and right. So this will distribute internet, and it'll distribute internet in turn to whatever in our Hyper-V, and it'll distribute the internet to our external virtual switch, and then from our virtual switch it'll distribute to the VMs if we want. But again, this is just strictly for internet. Without that, we're not able to connect to our machines. um, machines to get distribute internet to these two physical NIC cards. And then I'll also want to, like I said before, I want to give it team NIC, and I'll show you how to do that for NIC teaming. Okay. Let's try to lock these so we're not moving them. Lock, and then this box here, I'm going to give it another color. So again, this is more for NIC teaming, like I mentioned before. And again, our administrator logs into our Workstation Pro machine and creates these bare metal machines on our physical disk. So right now we're creating all the data within our physical disk and our drive F in this case, and not on our C drive. Or you can create it on your C drive. Again, it could be anywhere you want it to be. Uh, I typically, uh, you know, on the physical disk itself, you can put it on wherever you want, but you can put it in your user's profile, right? User one, whatever your username is, and then documents, right? Typically, it creates a virtual machine folder, and then you can virtual machine folder, and then you can create this whatever you want to create. Okay. Uh, okay. So that's that. Let me save that. So there's our drawing. All right. Okay. So again, we are work as an admin. We're creating we're creating. We just created these two physical Ethernet NIC cards, and then these two NICs, these two drives, SCSI drive 0, SCSI drive 1. One which will hold our operating system, and then our second one will just be our second or third, or and we'll add three because I want to show you guys three. Show you guys three. Okay. All right. So again, this one is our main one, and then these two will be our second and third drives. We'll lock these. Okay. All right. So let's get to it. So I'm now going to install Windows. Let's choose the Canadian um, drive, English Canada, and then hit okay next. What do we need to know? Repair your computer. No, we're not repairing, so we're going to install now. And the setup's going to start. Just give it 1 second. All right, so we can create a web server, which is our full installation, or we can create a standard. We can create enterprise, full installation, server core, data center, or we can give the Windows web server for IIS. But in this case, I'm going to show you guys how to install the data center version within our Canon environment. So we're creating this for a data center, and we can use the server core, which is the a little bit lighter for specific machines. And I'll show you how to do that another time. But again, this is all code based, like command prompt based, a PowerShell based type of installation. So we typically go with the full installation or enterprise or whatever one you want. So in this case, I'm going to use data center to get the full capabilities. And that's entire interface and all the server roles that I need. With enterprise, this also gives you the entire um, user interface. It supports all those server roles. And then standard, Standard also, again, includes the entire. It's all up to you. I typically prefer the data center. So I'm going to go with the full installation and click next. This is the license term. Accept the license term. Click next. We're not upgrading. We're going to do a custom install. And we're going to stay with that. We're going to keep those. And again, you're more than welcome to, create new, um, create new sizes or give it less or whatever you want. In this case, if I don't want to use the full 150, I can always expand and contract that. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to do the secondary disk. We'll create, let's say half that size. So half of 6140, let's see, calculator. So half of 6140, 61440. Just give it half that size, or let's say 75% of that size. So let's go times 75% of it, or delete that, or 0.7, 1.75. Sorry, 0.75, 0.75. Next. So I'll be giving that disk 46,000 megabytes. That's in megabytes. And if you want to know the gigabytes, you just divide it by 1024. So 1024 is 1 gigabyte. So this is 45 gigabytes, right? So we'll give it 45 gigabytes. So 46080. And then we'll apply that 46080 and apply, right? And then we have our unallocated space. So we have 15 gigs to play with. So the secondary drive is going to be our backup drive just in case, but with allocated space in case we need to um, extend our format. Okay. If we do want to add any drivers, we just click on the load drivers page, but we're not going to be doing that. We can rescan and see if there's any drivers that need to be installed. We make sure that the installation media contains the correct drivers, then click OK. We can hide the drivers that are non-compatible, or we can browse for those drivers uh, within the source folder or um, whatever folder holds those drivers. I'm not going to get too much into that, but again, that's how you would do that. And then click OK, cancel, cancel all of that. Yeah. So let's go back to install. All right, we selected the data center. Click next. Accept the license terms. Click next. Custom. The disk partitions are good. Click next. And then we'll wait for that to copy over. Be right back. Okay, guys, welcome back. We are finally finished. We're gonna enter in our password for our BIOS. We're gonna hit enter, and then some full screen here. Here, just gonna wait for this, and this will set up the registry edits. All right, finish that. It looks like it's still running, so we'll wait for that to finish, completing the installation. And then we will go ahead and let's not yet. Okay. Okay. Firmware type is BIOS. Again, if we are going to be installing, I also want to talk about firmware. Okay, so let me annotate this because this is also important. I might have missed it in the other um, video, but firmware. Changing the firmware might cause the installed guest operating system to become unbootable. So we are not enabling UEFI or enabling secure boot. We're not installing BitLocker. So in this case, instead of installing BitLocker, I've put a BIOS password on it as well too. I could have changed that if I wanted to. We think we can. We can shut that off, but we'll see if we can shut that off and change that to UEFI and then enable secure boot. But you don't need it because we're not installing Windows 11 or anything, and it might not be the prerequisites that we want, but we can test that. All right. So let's put that in again. Password BIOS. Double click in that. Once you move your mouse in that, you type in your password and then hit enter. Or Control Alt moves out, and then double clicking it moves in, which allows you to freely move in between the operating system with your mouse or with your keyboard. All right. So the user's password must be changed before logging in for the first time. So we are going to set a password and then hit OK. Hit OK. Okay, so within here, I'm going to create a password. Uh, Type in the password, then confirm that password. Continue. Oh, should I put that in properly? Change that password. And there you have it. We're now logged into the Windows Server 2008 R2. Um, Again, we're gonna do a full customization of it. But before I do that, I want to install the VMware tools and add the auto login, which is what we can't do right now. Okay, so I need to run the tools first. That's right. So let's install the Windows tools. And then um, give it a new name. We'll call this one Server 2008 Canada Data Center. Okay. Not going to restart it. Let's try to uh, run VMware software. And this one, I can get the important updates for installation. I can go online, recommend it, or don't get the latest updates. Again, I can choose whatever I want, but I do want to, uh, kind of go through you know, give it some character on the machine itself. Like set up give it the name, set up the auto login after I've installed that and rebooted it. I could set up the auto login and then, double check the date and time, change the computer name, um, and then, show you how to change that. I just ensure that it's not 15 plus letters, or else, you know, they should, or else you'll get an error. They should be 15 bytes in size or 15 characters in length. Yes, config, run that. That'll disable the updates, and then just ensure that the date and time is power settings and turn off the power, and then restart the VM. At that point, we can shut off the VM and restart the VM again. And once we restart it, we can create a VM and then wait for the snapshot to create. And then we'll also create the auto login. Okay. So again, I'm going to, again, I've installed that. We're going to do this. I've given it the new name. Um, we're going to uh, manually install the updates for with using sconfig, disable IPv6 network, show you the two network cards, um, in the uh, two network cards, and then the three drives, restart the VM. Sorry, not restart the VM. Take the power management off. That way we don't have to restart and start. And then once that's all done, after installing the VMware tools, I'll create the snapshot for it. So I'm going to ignore this, right? And continue. Okay, this is already installed. Oh, so there we go. So I'm running the DVD, CD, DVD. So let's kind of remove that CD, DVD so that it doesn't create any problems. I'm going to just use the physical drive and detect that for now. These are my drives. I can detect them however I want. So whatever's running my OS disk will be the disk that I'll be using. So I'm going to click next, next, install. Uh, all right, and then if we go to computer management, um, all right, so we don't know what driver software we're going to be installing. So, oh yes, so we are going to install the this driver here. So we are going to install the driver anyways. That's the VM. The driver will have to be installed manually. Okay, right. And then what's this? Okay, VM at next drivers. Install it. Install. Oh, that's fine. Could be the versioning of VMware Net Tools, but you might want to integrate another version of this. You might have to get an older version. Maybe it's not compatible with that. Um, but that's okay. So we'll do that. It's fine. It is what it is. Let's check the disk management. In disk management, let's put this online and initialize the disk. Okay. Okay. And then same thing here, right click online and initialize the disk. Um, okay. And we'll create the simple volumes after. So, well, now that we've turned the disks online, we can, we can delete, shrink, extend the volume uh, with the 15 gigs that we have. So say if I need an extra 5 gigs, I can, extend or shrink. So I'll show you guys how to shrink it, right? So we can shrink, I don't know. Let's see, we have 46 in total. We shrink it another 5 GB. So 5 GB times 1024. Get the calculator here. Okay. Just I love using my calculator. So 1024 times 5 equals 5120. So we'll minus that from the total 46079. So minus 46079. Hit next. So we will enter the amount of space to shrink in megabytes. So we will shrink it for 779. Oh, so we will do, sorry, so 5 times 1024, right? So 520, 5120, and then minus 46079 equals 40959, 40959, 40959. Okay, so the total size after the shrink in megabytes will be that. Um, next, hit next. Oh, sorry, okay, so that's shrinking for it, so I can make this a 5 GB. Again, I think I did that wrong, but you guys kind of get that concept of that. So I'm going to expand this drive, extend this drive, and I want to extend it, let's say, select the amount of space in MB. So I want to give it, another 35 GB. So 35 GB, 35 GB. So 35 times 1024 megabytes, and this will give us our total size of megabytes. So we're going to select the amount of space and give it 35840, and then 35840, and then hit next, and then click next, and click next. So we've allocated 20 gigabytes and we've given this 4. So again, we can shrink. You guys kind of get the idea. I don't have to explain everything to you. We can shrink the size. We can extend the size, extend the volume. We can extend the allocated space with or before, after. But remember, you're adding more. You're not really taking away from a disk. You just want to add more. Or, you don't really want to, you can extend this volume. You don't really want to take away from this volume, especially like your C or your D drive. You don't want to take away. You can play with stuff if you want. It's totally up to you. But in this instance here, you want to give from the unallocated space and give from the unallocated space to the healthy disk, right? So, properties. I'm not going to give any letters here. Actually, let's give it a new simple volume. Next, and we'll get a live drive letter E, and then click next. This is our NTFS volume, right? It's not a virtual machine yet. And we are allocating the unit size, default, our volume label. We will call this E for web. Let's say, I don't know. We'll call it um, HR documents, HR docs, right? And then we'll hit next and then finish. So our HR docs are there, and then we'll give this bad boy a change the properties, and this one we should give it a name. We'll give it HR um, HR resumes, right? So we'll put our HR, we'll put our resumes in there, and then we'll well, this again, I can't name it until I format it. So let's try to format this disk here. Let's format this disk first, NTFS, and then we'll call it HR resume and hit enter. Again, this is not a good idea to do this while there's data within it, but again, that's what you want to do. Um, right? Click next and start that. Okay. We can also do this in Server Manager, guys. Right? Um, once we install the roles that we want. So right now we don't have any roles, so we will add specific roles first. Oh, looks like it needs to restart. Okay, it's okay. Type in Italian one. And then hit Control Delete. Right? Well, let's move this out of the way. It's blocking my Control Delete, and then put in our password. Hit enter. Oh, hitting again. All right, there's our full name. Um, okay, okay. Here's our roles. Or we'll disable IPv6. Uh, okay. Pull up. Okay, so we will view the network connections and disable IPv6. Hit OK. Hit OK. And then again, network connections, disable IPv6. Remember what I said, guys, our local area connect. We can rename this too, actually. So we'll also rename it so that we have an idea of what we're doing here based on the picture. So our physical Ethernet 0 and our Ethernet 1. One is our NAT, one is our NAT, and one is our VMNet virtual network. So properties, disable IPv6, and then hit OK. All right, so let's go ahead and rename that to our, say, LAN, which is our local area, VMNet, right? And then we have our NAT, which is our internet name. Um, okay. So that's done. We've done that. Let's test the internet. But before we do that, we need to um, disable IE enhanced security. Where's that? There you go. Configure ISAC. Let's turn those off. It's also part of that. So let me add that into our notes here. Um, disable IE sec. Right. Reduces the exposure. So by default it's enabled, but let's turn that off. See what happens. Okay, and let's go to start and then hit Internet Explorer. Ask later, and let's type in google.com. And okay, let's see if we get internet now. So there's internet. Let's see if we can go to YouTube. We'll go to Gmail. I'll turn that off for the users, for the admins. Let's just keep it on for now. See what happens when we turn it on. Again, this is more for internet. Try to refresh now. See what happens. Compatibility button. Let's see. Let's type in. Let's get this out of here. Let's type in Microsoft.com and hit enter. So the web page is disabled. So we'll go back and enable it. Again, that's what IE enhanced security is, guys. Just make note of that. It is on by default, so let's turn that off for both the administrator and the user. Let's give it a refresh. Refresh. All right, once we refresh that, we can now go here, refresh the web page. That'll give us some internet connection. All right, google.com. .com. There we go. So there's our internet, guys. Let's go back to take a little bit of time, it looks like. So let's go to Microsoft. What happens when Microsoft doesn't like us? So, okay. So let's try it again. So they should be disabled because we don't want to limit how the users are browsing the internet and websites. But typically to disable the IESec, we need to click it off for administrators and users. For 2012, it's on by default. It's off by default. So if we click on Internet Explorer, right, ask me later. And then if I type in www dot micro Microsoft.com, and then hit enter. This should work, hopefully. Okay. So it looks like in 2008, by default, it looks like it's turned on, whereas in 2012, it's turned off. So by turning off that, we'll go make sure we turn those off. We'll configure that and turn those off, which is what they are for both the user. And then we'll go ahead and close the windows, and then we'll reopen it again, see what happens. We'll type in just Microsoft.com, Microsoft, or let's just do Microsoft at home. And it looks like there is no internet. Oh, okay. Okay. So it looks like there's no internet. I'm not sure why, but let's see what happens here. Um, I gave it um, I gave it a VMnet 9. Let's try to give it VMnet 8 NAT and see what happens. Let's try to refresh that. Microsoft.com. Microsoft.com. Refresh. Okay. So in 2008, it looks like it's not working. Um, Interesting. I enhanced is turned off in 2012. I've given it DHCP. Firewall is on, private is on. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to here. Let's try to diagnose that. Um, Connection. Let's try to disable this. Let's disable that and see what happens. Disable that and just give it internet. Let's see what happens now. Refresh. Okay. So 2012, when we click on that, it's off for both the user. 2008 looks like it doesn't want to work. Okay, so let's see what happens. Let's try the 64-bit here. Okay. Um, well, okay, so then let's try to let's see what happens. Let's try this again. Google.com. All right, that works. Let's try to search for Microsoft. Microsoft. Very interesting that it's not working. Let's go to login. Doesn't like that. Okay, so then this might be based on okay. Suggested. Let's go to internet options. Um, Local intranet. Uh, Requires okay, and then hit apply, and then hit apply, and then let's try. Close that. Okay. Close that. Close this again. Let's try this again. Okay. Right. So www.microsoft.com. Microsoft.com. There you go. It's not displaying it. So let's add this to our Let's add this to our security, local intranet trusted sites. And add that sites edits as well. Okay, so let's add the S to that. There's a secure protocol, and then add, and then close, and then apply, and then hit OK. So let's try to see if that works. But let's add the S this time for secure. See what happens. Okay. Click next. Status. It's got internet. Okay. Start. Okay. www.office.com. Okay, diagnose the problem. Okay, it does not know why. So let's go back and turn off the firewalls. So let's turn off the firewalls and see if that helps. Uh, see if that helps. Yeah, turn off the firewalls. Okay, right. Let's go back to the server. Let's go back to that. Let's try to download Google. Let's try to download it, see what happens. Internet's good. Go back for most websites. ActiveX. Okay. Local intranet. Local intranet sites automatically detect that. And let's put add that. Then click OK. Close. OK. Trusted sites. We've added that to that. Okay, let's add. So we've done that. Then hit close. And then there's no restricted sites. And then hit OK. So let's try again. Put the S there. www.office.com. Close that again. Okay. Well, let's try. Keep trying here, guys. All right. So let's. Okay. Updates like I figured. All right. Policies. Let's turn them on. See what happens. Hit OK. And then refresh. And then right click, refresh, action, refresh, and then see what happens. Start Internet Explorer. Okay, www.google.com. Okay, that works. Right, so let's add Office. .com. Okay. Okay. Interesting. To Microsoft.com. Okay. Okay. Google.com. Uh, okay. And then we will go to images. All right. So content from the site is being blocked by Internet Enhanced. It's fine. If you trust this site, you can lower security settings for the site by adding the trusted site zone, which is what I did. And then so that works. It looks like we have internet here, but it's not picking up some of the sites. I'll have to dive deep into this. I'm not sure why. If you guys do, please feel free to add the comments below. Let's try .ca. Okay. Let's add the secure enter. Okay. Try CNN.com. .com. See what happens. Try without the S. Okay. Okay. Click yes. Yes. Interesting. Okay, so that's okay. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's really weird. I'll have to Google. If you guys know why I'm not able to get internet visit some of the sites, um, please let me know. I don't want to spend too much time on this right now, but uh, like the internet's too high. Um, okay. Let's enable that. Hit okay. Okay. And then the internet's okay. And then disable that. Internet we're not using right now. Custom level. Hit okay. Trusted sites. Okay. That. Reset all zones. Okay. Unrestricted sites. Do I have any sites to add? No. Trusted sites. Yes. Add that. And then close that. Hit apply. Hit okay. Now let's try it now. Next. Oh, well, really weird. Okay, well, you guys have to help me out here. I'll have to do some research on this, but I'm gonna spend too much time. Let's get to the best part here. That's fine, no problem. I'll have to research on that. If you guys know, please research. Please add your comments. So time zone looks good. Roles. Let's add the roles. Let's see what roles we can add here. So in this role, I'm going to let's say for example this one here. I'm gonna add I don't want to add domain services, but I'll give it that. Uh, and I'll give it a file services role, right? And hit next, next. ASP.NET required, required roles. Next, 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 and finish. Let's just add everything here. That doesn't matter. I just want to add for now. Click next. I don't want to create a DFS namespace, so I'm just gonna remove that. Um, DFS replication, the description's here, guys. But like I said, it uses remote differential compression to update the portions of files that you have changed since you last replicated. So it can be used in conjunction for DFS namespaces. So if you are, you can use the help system for distributed file system management. Like all this stuff is located in the syswall folder, so you could read all this stuff here. Let's see if I can put this in our notes for you guys to read. I was gonna add it, but I'm not going to. Doesn't matter. Just some good read here for you guys to take a look at if you want. Um, Copy. Then we'll use right click and paste. Looks like it doesn't like copying and pasting either. Okay, that's fine. So we'll remove that. But again, it's all here. If you guys are installing along, you can follow along with that. File service resource manager. That's for file share, for home folder, for um, in our DCs. Um, so I'll leave that there. And so we don't need that. And that's it. Right. And then you can monitor the amount of space on the volume. So that'll be for HR docs, right? And then hit next. Um, all the reports within our file server manager will save it in our C drive reports, or I can change that and put that in, well, I'll keep it in our C drive and then we'll mount it if we need to. These files don't get big, so it doesn't really matter where you put it at the end of the day. So we'll leave that as is and receive reports by email. It's again up to you to set that up if you want. I'm just gonna not do that and then um, view it and then install. Wait for that to install. Okay, so installation successfully. Automatic updating is not enabled. We're not gonna enable anything yet. We can install the updates, but I don't think I don't want to. I want to show you guys how I did it in the last one. Um, so if I look up let's say command prompt, right, and then run my sconfig server configuration.exe, right, and then run it in administration. I click. It's a little different here, guys. run, do sconfig, hit enter, sconfig dot exe, hit enter. It looks like we don't have that either here. Okay, that's something that should be part of here as well. Should have that option sconfig dot exe. Which is sort of what we did and configured. Okay. This with command prompt sconfig fig.exe sconfig.msc sconfig. Let's see, sconfig. There we go. That's a service. Here you go, sconfig. That'll run it. Okay. So let's do this for Windows 2008. It's fine, not a problem. It'll be in our System 32 folder. C drive, Windows, Sys32. And we are looking for command.exe, sconfig. Let's see, sconfig, hit enter, exe. Okay. Okay. So let's search for the C drive. Let's search for sconfig. If we can find that. Let's see, sconfig. Sconfig. See what happens. Interesting. So it looks like it's not in 2008. I'll have to review that a little bit more. It's been a while since I've played around with 2008. Again, it's a deprecated service. Um, I'll have to look for where this is located, which file it is on 2012. I use this very often, so right click. Oh, okay, let's open the location. Sconfig is in Win-Sys32, so let's look for that. Copy. Let's go to here and then paste it here. C drive, I can't paste. Okay, so C drive, Windows. We're looking at System 32. And then we'll look for S. So this is a command, so it should be open. It should be here. It may be that it's scon scoccs. Okay, so let's say sco. Looks like it's not here. Yeah, see, sc schema star. Like it's not here. Okay, that's fine. Something else we'll have to look into. It's okay. sc sconfig. Okay, so it's not part of the 2008. There you go. There you have it, guys. That's not part of 2008. It looks like 2008 it's been used to install. So let's try to allow Okay. Select all users, add the admin. There. Well, these are domain listed users, so we again, this is how you would allow remote control in 2008, and then your domain users, we can add them and remove them as such, that are part of the location that you're in. I think, if I'm not mistaken, um, I think, if I'm not mistaken, uh, administrators automatically are. See, there you go. She's should be part of that. It should be good to go here. Can add those users. So let's just to kind of give you guys a heads up. This is where we would change it, and we can enable the um, see if we can search that remote desktop connection, and then we can add again. We can add the machines however we want. So 2008 is a little bit different. Guys, it's been a long time since I've touched base on it, but again, this is all unscripted. I'll take a look at some of the issues that we ran into. So again, bear with me. We'll look into that. Uh, Even that's probably because the drivers are needed to be updated and whatnot. So we can always, update them if we'd like. And I'll have to take a look at it, guys. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there you have it. 2008 is installed. Um, can install the features, make the configuration changes based on the task sequences, local users and groups. We can create the disk management space for our environment. Sort of what we did. We created a E drive and an F drive, which is sort of what we did here. Um, and again, allocated some space for F, 20 gigs in case we want to add more for resumes and whatnot. Okay. So that's that. That's all good to go. So file services are here. And again, you know, similar to 2012, I think they made those changes there. So again, you can use asconfig here and deactivate all those, enable everything that you need. Looks like in 2008 it's discontinued. I'll make sure and follow up with you guys on my next video, okay? And we'll also have to look at the internet connection, see what's going on. I'm not sure what happened there, but it looks like it's not picking it up. So disks, let's see if we have our server manager shows our disks are online for in 2008. Uh, Server should show our disks, storage, file services, share and storage. There we go. There's our admin or SMBs or small volumes, right? Our C, D, E, and F. Within here, we can provision storage, manage sessions, and take a look at what's free and what's not free. We customize those, extend those format properties. So here's our file services. Here's also our E drive. We can stop sharing those. We can create the properties, disable them, give the appropriate permissions for C $ share or in our min shares. We can stop sharing that. We can give those properties and then set the maximum allowed users at once. This is also important, especially when you have a high secure, high profile um, uh, server share that you need, like lawyers and stuff, documents, important documents. You can set that, say, for example, you can only set two at a time so that we're saving on networking and server loads. But again, now we can always make sure that our server loads are provisioned and are balanced in terms of capacity reservation. So again, that's an option that we can do here within the server manager when we're storing shares and store management. Again, ear drive, same thing, same concept. Stop sharing properties. Give a description, right? And then copy that path, right? And then run the path. Um, should be able to open that path now. There we go. And then create folders within it. Um, yeah, so that was a little bit of a rough ride there, guys, with the internet. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm gonna have to Google it. I don't know why it's doing that, but let's see if we can add that to the Bing, Microsoft 365. See what happens. Sure, hit OK, and it looks like it does search, but let's see if we can log in. Hit OK. Yeah, see, you can't display the web page. Again, we have to take a look at why that is the way it is. Maybe it's the DNS isn't reachable, so we'll have to create a DNS record for that. Maybe it's just the HTTPS that we need to add, and then make sure that the SSL and TLS protocols are set, so we can try that. If we go to Internet Options, Advanced, um, and enable TLS and SSL. So let's do that. See, there we go. Maybe that's what it is. Let's add all of them in. Why not? Let's just give that as there and then hit OK. So let's try to refresh the page now. See what happens. Ah, there we go. So that kind of helps fix the issue there, guys. Again, I apologize. Um, we're able now to continue that page and open that page. Perfect. Let's click on that, display that, display the items. You don't really want to use internet on the server, but um, all the certificate again. Uh, so again, this is all again we could take the let's take the S. Let's see what happens here. Next, yes. Okay, see what happens when I load that. Still getting the certificate error, right? Means that we're not going to be using that. So that's okay. That's secure enough. Let's see what else we can get from the search options. See what we can do here. There's sites maybe, might not, might be. Here, let's see if we can get it to this. It's on certificate. So let's go to settings there. Um, SSL2. Okay. Apply and refresh. Okay. Add it to our trusted sites. Add. Hit close. Hit OK. Refresh. And there we go. It's blocked the site from displaying content with security certificate errors. Click here for options. What's the risk or display the content? And There she is. So we recognize that that's the issue. Let's try to go to Microsoft.com now. Not going to fix the certificate issue, but again, we figured out the issue, right? And so that works. Link should work now. Find our next PC. Okay. So again, internet protected mode is off. Internet. So the internet it should be off. See that? Click that. Okay. Close that. Let's refresh. Oh. Yeah. All right. So let's install the certificate. What was successful? Hit OK. Refresh. Let's install a certificate again. Automatic content input was successful. Install the certificate. Next. Central store was selected. Content was already. Finish. Input was successful. Let's refresh. Close that. Let's open it again. Close that. Start. And let's go to Microsoft.com. And there we go. All right. Recommended. And there you go, guys. We have internet. Everything's good to go. See if we can click on a link here. Okay. Let's do a search for Google, google.com. So I've enabled the internet options, and the advanced I've enabled TLS 1.1 and 1.2, and then hit apply, and then hit OK. Refresh. To help protect internet's blocked the site from displaying the content with security certificate errors. So again, we'll display that. But again, we can read up on what the risks are and whatnot, and that's we can focus on that at another time and date. Okay, so that's done. Internet works. We've got the 3 drives for you. We've explained the network drives and how to access those network drives. We've gone ahead and this is the diagnostics, the configuration side of things for firewall, turning them off and on, local users and groups. We can add users to the admin group, the administrators add. We can add any group that we want. So let's see, check the names. We can add whoever we want to it. So if you want to create a user, I'm more than welcome to create a user. And then add that person to the administrators group. So that's good. So we can also add users here. So add, see if the admin is still in here. Let's check the name. I know it's automatically added, but again, we don't have that user, so we have to create a user. So I'll go ahead and create a user just to kind of give you guys an idea. Let's create a new user, and we'll give this guy, Toronto admin. Admin, username, same thing, copy, paste, right? No password. Disable that because we're not going to use it. And disable, and then close. So here's our user. He is a disabled user. He's got no Again, we can create his user profiles, add his home local profiles based on the infrastructure that you have. Um, you know, can add specific home folders if we'd like to, memberships, groups. Can add the administrator to this. We can add, uh, you know, specific groups if there's our groups, but we can add them to the let's say, let's go to groups, see what kind of groups we can add them to the uh, uh, backup operators group. So we'll add um, admin, check name, oh, add then admin, check name. Okay, let's add Toronto admin, TOR, check name. Okay, okay, cancel. R, check, make sure that our users are selected, then hit OK. Should find them here. I'm not sure why it's not finding them locally, which is kind of weird. Um, because he's disabled. Let's try to let's go to users. Okay, right click and then properties, and then you can add the group backup. Right, we should be able to. If it lets us backup. Sorry. Check name. I'm looking in the location here, so that's correct. Hit OK. Hit OK. Next. So that's right. Um, backup operators group properties. See if we can add Toronto. Right. Check name. It's not finding it. So okay. So let's go to the users. Let's give our admin. Let's go to properties. General. Let's enable this guy and enable him. Why? I don't want to give him a password. So I'll hit OK. So he's now enabled. And I can set properties. I can give him the domain. Right? The groups. So there is no group here. Okay, so it would have to be back up. Right? Check name. Okay, so I have to log in and then okay, all right. So um let me log out, log back in. Let me see if that works. I'm gonna log back in here, see if that works. Close that, close that. Just want to log out, log back in, close that. I don't need this anymore. We'll come back to that. Let's see if I can okay, so start, right click, options, auto login, because the guest OS is not installed. So let's restart the machine. The proper way to restart the machine is done through here, but just restart it. And then we're doing some operating system configurations, planned, and then hit OK. And then type in our BIOS password. And hit Control Alt Delete. So let's log into Toronto admin. Oh, cancel, cancel, cancel. So our administrator should be able to add his group now, hopefully. Let's see. Because he's probably not found. So let's add him again. One. and enter. Okay, so let's go back to our computer management. Back to our local users. Okay, so our local users are there. Let's give him properties. Let's give him, he's now just a user. So let's give him the backup operators. See what happens. So I can't add groups to this, right? Okay, okay. So let's do this. Um, so let's do this. Cancel. Okay. So I go to server manager. Toronto. Huh. Allowing me to add roles. Um, okay. Uh, Toronto admin is a user. Okay. And user is okay. Give me one sec. So it looks like it's a common issue. I'll have to again. Uh, there aren't any other local accounts on the domain on this server itself, um, other than the direct services restore mode account. Um, so I'm not sure why it's not letting me add it. Um, let's see if I can find dsa.msc. I don't think I no, I don't think I'm gonna have it because I didn't add the role yet on my server. So I'm just trying to wonder um why it's not picking it up. So give me 1 second. I'll find that issue for you and I'll and try to resolve this. Um in some mixed uh user. So I added the two users. Um uh Give him the admin. Okay. Okay. And then close that. Close that. But T O check name. Yeah, see, it's not letting me. Um, Thinking about maybe hmm, that through group policy. Um, I know there was a vulnerability for 2008. Um, but let's see if I can. Uh, hmm, oh, item level targeting. But I'm not gonna use that. So they may have just stopped it. Um, I'll have to do some more research. This is really weird. I know my 2012, um, I'm able to, right? So if I go to my 2012 server, um, I'm able to add users based on locations. So if I create another user, let's create another user. Um, let's copy. Let's see if we can even copy that instead. Properties. Okay. See, well, I have to take a. You know what? I'll have to take a look at this, guys. I may have. It may be something that, like I've heard of maybe it being a vulnerability, but I'm not sure. I know on the local, like I said, this is 2008, R2. So again, this has been deprecated. We can create, like I said, we you can create um, security groups in Active Directory because we're on a server itself, so we can install the role and see if we can create that there. But I'm talking about the local, which is kind of weird um, scenario for me. 2008. I know I can create. Um, if I go here, users, new user, I'll create Toronto admin. Toronto admin, admin. Okay, well, let's just keep it the same here. Um, okay, and I don't want to give it too much information here, but again, um, I will leave this. Okay, I don't want to change the password. I don't want to give it a password. Just close that. Right, so I have that. He's active. He's an active guy. So um, I know we can do this. I know I have a feeling we can do this in Active Directory, but on 2008 server, let's see control. Uh, okay, so this is 2012. Um, that's done. Let's log in with him. And actually, first let's give him administrator access. Um, control panel for appwiz.cpl. Then we'll change the account type. I know he's a local account, so let's give him the administrator account. Okay. Change the account type. I can't change the account type, so I'll have to do this through PowerShell. Okay. And net user there, Toronto admin uh, active. There you go. So I should now have that set up. If I'm mistaken. Refresh. You know what? I have to look into it. I know with Active Directory, even if I add the role itself, which is kind of weird. But then again, it could be a security or a vulnerability for somebody to for you to do that. I'll have to look into it and see why. It's been a while. Let me take a look at that. I know with 2012, you know, I'm able to um, uh, okay. Well, let's go to control panel. Let's go to change account types. Um, change account type, and then change that. Should be able to do that now. And then click OK, and then sign out. Do Control Delete. Admin. Very stunned by this. It could be something different. Again, this is 2012. Um, let's see what happens here. If I go to tools now. Oh, okay. So tools. So this should also have tools if I'm not mistaken. or not. They might have the administrative tools here. Okay, so if I go to users. Um, oh, interesting. 2008's been changed around. Okay. Okay, so I'll have to go back to this. This is enabled. This is good. This is okay. This is good. Can we add members? See, I'm a user and a member now. Can we add more members now? Let's go to backup. Yeah, see, it won't let you. Okay, well, that could be it could be something that they want. Now, maybe that's what they want, so not an issue. Um, again, okay. Let's add. Let's add the role. Our role. Let's click next. Let's just add ADDS services required. Sure. And then click next. Click next. Next install. Well, again, this is not domain joined. It's just a workgroup machine. Um, it's not a domain controller. I haven't given it anything. So not sure why it's not letting me. I'll have to look into that. Manager. So again, like local users, it could be a vulnerability thing that's not allowing me to do that. Um, usually going into the control user passwords too. Let's see if that. Um, okay, so um, advanced. Okay, let's give the users here properties, member. Let's add, only add users there. Okay, so let's see if we can add a role back. No. Okay, so it doesn't allow me to add anything else. But both users are admin, not a problem whatsoever. In 2000 and 2000, 2012, um 2012, if I go to computer management, local users and groups, groups, administrator. Oh, sorry, backup operators. So he's an administrator. I want to add Toronto admin. Let's see if I can add Toronto admin. It's not, then it's just I have to join it to the domain. Not a big deal. Yeah. So not a big problem. It's part of all the objects here. So users, um, they're both administrators right now. That's what we need. We're not giving any other roles, local roles. Um, right now, um, both the administrator and the Toronto admin are admins. Um, so so again, same, yeah, yeah. So again, it's as you can see, you can add it. Um, if I were to add the role, we can try and test that to see if that works. Um, yeah, that's about it. That's all we get. Just basic roles. Basic roles. Cancel. Our users can I add objects? Yeah, see, it won't. I can add a user. User's a Toronto. Let's see, Toronto's a user. Is Toronto a user? Toronto admin's a user. Add. See, it's not letting me. Okay, that's fine. Not a problem. It's all for troubleshooting. We are doing what we're doing. You should be able to add that, change that. See if we can give it other. See if we can give it the backup operators here this way. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there we go. So control 2 would be the one to give it specific. I'm able to now change it, which is kind of cool. Uh, and then, right? So control password 2 would be the way to do it. And then hit OK. And then let's go to the groups. He should be, he's not part of an administrator anymore. He is part of the backup operators. So um, there you have it. Now, if I want to change his group, administrator, or add his group, again, control, right click, run, control passwords 2, right? And click the user. You can either remove the user, right? And then properties, right? Group membership. We either give them the administrators group. That's the level of access we want to give. We're not really adding any groups, security groups yet, because it's not part of a directory or part of the domain or part of the domain controller. So again, I can change them and just give them a basic, you know, administrators, or I can give them, sorry, not the administrators, but I can give them the backup operators. Let's see, and then select or just select one. It just allows you to select one. So we'll send them back. We'll give them an administrator. He's an admin. That's going to be our backup account, our copied account, so that we don't lock ourselves out of um, the machine. There you have it, guys. So I'll have to do some more digging again, but that's how we did it. So by control 2, control passwords 2, I'm now able to, run, hit OK. Toronto admin, sorry, administrator, Toronto administrator, properties, group membership, and then give it the other group memberships that I want. Basic 101 here. And then I'll give him the IIS user, and then hit apply, and then hit OK. So he's now IIS user, and then hit OK, and then cancel. Alt, restart the machine. Um, there you have it, guys. That's that. So, next topic of conversation. Um, I have the ADDS role here. Next. I installed it. I just need to reboot it. To reboot this machine. Okay. Next. Next. Existing. Okay, so create a new domain. Right. We'll call this panel. Um, oh yeah, computer. We'll call it. Let's call it C CDC SCDC dot CDC dot Talia comp inc compinc.com dot local. Or we'll call it. We'll keep the uniform here. So we'll do Talia Computers Inc. 3 Computers Inc. 3 dot local. SDC, that's going to be our domain controller. Computers Inc.ca. Next. And verify the net BIOS name. And net BIOS name is SCDC. Okay. Functional level provides all the features. So we'll assume that of all those features there. We'll go back to the way it was before. Let's just leave that as is. I'm not gonna touch that. That too, we're just gonna leave it as is. No changes made. Again, guys, if you do know why, please send me a WhatsApp chat as to why if we could or can, or if it's just a vulnerability um, that's part of the 2008 R2 server. Um, like within 2012, are we able to add local users and groups, local users like the Toronto admin? Are we able to add them to the backup operators group? No, see, you know, so give me your comments below, um, and then let me know what happens, if it's possible or not. So even within the groups, I know he's already part of the administrators group, um, but again, they're both part of the administrators group. Right, Toronto admin's already there, so um, let me know. Like, can I add other groups like enterprise and no? See, it will just let me know if this is if I'm correct or if there's an issue. please let me know.